Okay, so let's summarize here, Graham. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want to try and summarize this. So just give me yes or no's if I'm right or if I'm wrong, and then elaborate. Coaching issue online, impossible to enforce, so that there is no impossible to enforce to 100% that there is no nefarious activities potentially going on.
I mean, to 100% for sure. I mean, you could get to the point where you start putting up, three direct feeds in the players' rooms and stuff. But then, that works great for us. If we have 5 players in our office in one room,
you already have that screen, right?
Well, yeah, but that's just for me to watch on the couch because my neck's gonna hurt otherwise. So I just have a giant TV screen that we typically use that for analysis and stuff. But I've mounted it on an arm and pointed it towards the couch so I could watch. But I'm also there for 5 players to be. I'm being the admin again, right? I'm there for technical problems, make sure the PCs are working, the internet's working. I have to be at the office to manage all that stuff anyway. So I might as well sit in the room and just be very present rather than the other door away where they have to pause the game, walk out the room, grab me, come in.
Okay,
it just makes sense to be in there. I don't have to be in there,
sure,
but it's a lot more efficient for having me in there.
Yeah, well, you can hear the problems actually happening live.
Exactly,
I wonder how that's gonna be dealt with. By the way, sure, like you can have technical issues, but you can't expect players to be able to solve every technical issue that they encountered, like especially in these like office environments and shit.
Yeah,
like
but they're responsible for it at home. Then like the tournament organizer would make the example that you are responsible for your equipment.
Yeah, sure.
You need to have the knowledge to fix it, or have someone on hand to fix it. I hate to say it, but we are in 2021. These guys are getting paid a lot of money. Like, if you don't know anything about computers and you have a really fucking important tournament to play, just have a guy who has some knowledge near you. Just to pay him.
Yeah,
like,
but I'm
100
saying,
euros a night.
What about this rule though?
Well, it just says that they can't be in the room. Now, I have some clarifications on that. I need to
guess while they're playing, I guess
if they have technical issues, yeah, but I could still walk in with the delayed knowledge on the stream and say very briefly, there's again unenforceable.
Yeah,
it's like this is my point, is that yes, you can make it as good as you can, but unless you've got 2 cameras, 3 cameras set all around the room to make sure that how do you enforce that a player doesn't have his phone under his monitor? It's all right having one webcam on their face, but how do you force them to have a phone onto the monitor? I'm thinking, I remember, I think it was it Dennis from Sprout I was speaking to earlier? I can't remember, someone. But he was like, if all the video feeds are delayed by 5 minutes on the stream, then how does the coach on, let's say a second Discord or TeamSpeak server, how does he communicate the info? I was like, do you really think I can't just put an extra HDMI cable in all my players' PCs and run it to the other room and get instant info?
Simple solution, right? Like there's ones that are like, you could do. There's so many things you could do. Obviously,
you could install OBS on all the PCs, and then you can do NDI, which is a network video transfer essentially, and you could just have it in the other room. Like, it's all zero. Like, it's so easy.
You've thought a lot about this.
But the thing is, like,
because I've been trying to think of questions.
But yeah,
obviously,
it actually doesn't say I can't do that. It just says that we can't be in the room. It doesn't say that I can't run the feed out to the other room, and then the coach and I can watch it from the other room. It doesn't say that we can't be on the team speaker listening and recording it for our own purposes, but not communicating. So my questions are, can I do that? Can I run 5 video feeds into the other room so that when halftime or full time comes, we have got the information straight away?
Well, I think like a lot of those questions right there, this is what's gonna. Well, I think that they're gonna try and keep it pretty clear, right? They're gonna try and keep it a bit cut and dry, and that's why I think that Valve just went with it's not allowed. And I know what you're saying, like there's going to be a lot of areas in which things can be exploited or tinkered with, or there's questions. But you can see, like, Valve have always been the company that are like, well, we'll just we'll just do this. We'll just clean our hands with the problem and just go for the rule that hopefully either dissuades or stops people. And this is obviously what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to dissuade people from doing the wrong thing. And it's clear, right? Let's not act like this just came from nowhere. People were doing the wrong thing, right? And not only were people doing the wrong thing, the fucking lynch mob on Reddit just the other day went into the back history of fucking Vitality's entire life, looked at the birth certificates of X has and every single thing that the guy's ever looked at on the internet his whole entire life, and investigated to such a point, like, Hyven Glyven, look at what he's got on the fucking screen. Like, this shit, like, people went so deep in going after people over the stream sniping thing and made such a fuss about it, right? And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying that, this is obviously something that's bad. People shouldn't be doing scummy things, right? But it got such a reaction that, of course, Valve have to react. And what's the way that they're going to react? They're just going to go, bang, remove the problem. What, like, if you're in a shitty situation, what is the quickest way to solve it? Remove the fucking problem, right? And that's what they've done. Valve are not hands-on with these events. They don't run these events. They trust other people to run these events. And it's quite clear with other people running these events, there have been problems that have come up, whether it's Valve's fault, whether it's the TO's fault, whether it's people's cheating. There's all of those different hats that we can put on this. But people just need to look at this from a simple solution. You have a problem, let's stop the fucking problem. And that's what Valve have opted to do here. I know it's not that simple, but like,
it's really not that simple at all, because they've if anything, they've just changed the playing field, right? Because before,
for one tournament though, right?
Yeah, for one tournament, but if anything, I think they've actually increased the amount of opportunities for teams to cheat.
Oh, for sure.
At that one
That's
tournament.
what Rob was saying.
Because the problem is now they've now they've made it so, like, before it was kind of, the coach could be on, he could talk, everything's fine. But now he's not there. Well, now I want him there. So
Yeah.
how do I think of ways to cheat to get him there? And I mean, I just listed a few examples for you. It's very easy to put a second communication computer program on either the players' computers or on separate laptops, run the feeds out to another room. We're not in the room. We meet that requirement. We're not communicating, not that you can see. Great. So now I can cheat, right?
Yeah.
They've actually made it easier to cheat, or easier to have opportunities to cheat. Whereas before it was like, they're communicating and yeah, there are people who have gone out of their way to stream snipe, and that fucking sucks, right? I mean, the fatality thing recently was reckless. I don't think it was malicious, but it was reckless from them.
Yeah.
And they should be punished, and they should have been, in my opinion, punished a bit harder than that, because ultimately they've kind of set a barrier that I think is too low for what actually happened.
50 grand or 100 grand or something, like, we've got to think about how much these teams are throwing around with money. 10 grand is like
the thing is,
the
match they were playing was worth like 50k, because their minimum prize money they could have won was going up from like 20 to 70 or 30 to 80 or something. Like, that should have been the minimum they got fined.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah,
the
that
bare
makes
minimum.
sense.
Because they could have cheated, like, just that singular match. If they cheated just a tiny bit to win a few rounds, a few close rounds, they could have easily, given themselves 50k. So that should have been the minimum. But like, I don't think they should have been disqualified. I think it was quite innocent in a sense. It was just reckless. It was just, it was just someone wasn't thinking about the whole situation. And that's possible when you have a giant staff and not everyone is in tune with Counter-Strike, right?
Sure. Graham, we're going to bring in Devil Walk in a minute, so I want to kind of give you the floor if there's anything else that you want to touch on here before we let you go, because I think if we add more mics, we're going to have way too much going on here. Do you have anything else on this? Well, this is meant to be our day job, I guess. You got anything else you want to touch on here from this announcement? Anything you want to get off your chest?
I think just the main thing is that if you're going to introduce rules, they have to be enforceable rules. Like, and I mean, we did it way back. We introduced that you couldn't do jump throw binds, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't enforceable. We couldn't really check for it online or on LAN. I think eventually we could have got to a point where we could have done, but like it was actually unenforceable at the time. So we actually just removed the rule because it made no sense, and we couldn't prove that team did or didn't do it, because you can replicate a perfect jump throw sometimes. So how do you know if they did or didn't do it?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like, yeah, just I think that the reaction from Valve is just a bit over the top, and perhaps hasn't been thought through as much as it could have done. I think they could have perhaps coordinated. I don't know if they did. They could have coordinated with ESL, Blast. I think those two are like two of the biggest brains. I think they have some very like smart people behind them who can innovate and figure out these things.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think it's very clear that they've implemented the rule without thinking how it could be exploited, right? And ultimately they've opened up the opportunity for people to actually try and exploit and gain more of an advantage than what would have just been sort of okay. And yeah, stream sniping sucks, but now teams can't get any information, but it's also easier now for teams to cheat to give them that information.
There's more incentive now to cheat because other teams would be operating at a disadvantage for the ones who are not. But look, I appreciate your time and I appreciate your point of view. We're going to let you go now, Graham. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having me on.
We might talk to you again in the near future. All right, let's keep this one going. Now, obviously, there's lots of things here that we could be digging into. Now, Graham starts to bring up some points about the quite specific on the rules and whether or not, this should be enforced or that should be enforced, and what you do if it's unenforceable. So that's like almost a question where we're thinking steps down the line. But a lot of this stuff that I'm seeing from players and coaches and everybody at the moment is more like, oh, coaching is banned, right? So this is what people are obviously thinking is going to be the flow-on effect. Now, Prof,